Well, it is 4:10. Call our meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Megan Markle,
Here.
Samantha Cooley is absent. Brandy Rickert,
Here.
Casey Banks,
Here.
Judy Brown,
Here.
Brady Fail DeBusk.
Here.
All right. Do we have any public comments today?
Nothing has been sent in, and there's no one in the Zoom waiting area.
Okay. The meeting minutes were in our packet as a clickable link. Did anyone see if there were any edits needed to our meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I second the motion.
I've got one question for our staff before we do the vote. Does it matter that the meeting minutes themselves don't have the meeting date on them? The date is in the file name, but I didn't know if I didn't see the date of the meeting in the meeting minutes. Unless it's at the bottom.
Let me look here. That could be added.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a motion to approve the meeting minutes with a second. They'll get the date added later before they put it online. Let's see. We don't have everyone's camera on, so can we do a verbal vote for this? Or is there we don't have to do a roll call vote for meeting minutes, I don't believe.
That's correct.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Was that a delayed or was that an opposed? Sorry, I heard an aye come after I asked for an opposed. Just want to make sure.
Sorry, yeah, no, I'm an aye.
Okay, great. All right, those are approved. So let's hear about the status of the construction excise tax award allocation.
And we can take as much time to discuss and download as the commission would like. That was kind of the idea for the light agenda for this meeting. So that meeting was eventful at City Council. So there was discussion and deliberation around the two applications that were brought forward. I did bring forward the Affordable Housing Commission's recommendations, as stated in our previous meeting. They were received, and the short of it is that the Newburgh Area Habitat for Humanity to get their ask, which was, let me confirm, $380,000, $380,615 for the gap in their project costs. And then the remaining of the $1 million was allocated towards the Spark project after discussion and deliberation. pending legal review and status of their nonprofit application. Prior to the meeting today, I did reach out to the point person for the Spark, the applicant, and she stated that she does not have anything to update about their application for nonprofit status. I did reach out to legal today as well to see where they were in their review. I haven't heard back on that. I understand it can take a little while sometimes. So I will continue to pursue that. Subsequent to that meeting, there has been some further comments, an article written in the Newsburg newspaper, and last night at City Council, there was, I would say, a strongly worded public comment brought forward at the beginning of the meeting, reflecting much of what the latest Newsburg article, the points made there as well, and highlighted some of our concerns and what we had discussed previously in regards to the eligibility of the Spark program's application. Staff has noted that during the presentation at the City Council meeting, where the applicants were given the opportunity to speak, there were discrepancies between what they presented and what was in their original application that the Affordable Housing Commission staff reviewed. So they're changing some nomenclature around some things. And one of the articles, I think, that was written, noticed them changing some wording on their website as well. So that's kind of the gist of what happened in the official decision that was made at the previous City Council meeting for the CET award monies. I will certainly keep everyone posted as we get more information about legal review and their nonprofit status. I haven't heard anything else from the Spark team regarding progress on finding a suitable site. I believe their intention was to use the fund monies to purchase property, which is sort of a different pathway than I think what the scoring criteria was looking for, in a sense that, you know, projects needing to have land already secured. So I haven't heard anything else about that. My understanding is that the intention remains for the Spark group to pursue this project.
So what I would like to do with our time today, and feel free to share your thoughts on this as a process. We didn't really discuss the Spark project a whole lot last time because we kind of got to that point of, well, we don't think it's eligible, therefore we don't think we can award it a grant. So we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the program itself. One of the really big things that we didn't know was the legality of it. I'm really grateful that there's a legal team that is reviewing the legality of that, and that there is a condition of proving nonprofit status. That was another concern that we had. So someone else is checking on those things. So could we spend some time today talking further about the project, assuming that it is going to get this funding? And in our capacity as an advisory board, if we come up with any additional things that we feel like we would like to take to the City Council, we can offer that as advice. I don't pretend to know the full process on what the City Council can or will do, but there's a possibility that even though the award has already been awarded, there could be like additional conditions added to that, or, you know, questions that they want answered before disbursement, that kind of stuff. So my assumption is that as an advisory board, we could still offer some advice. How does that sound to the rest of you? I still have questions.
Well, I would like to know more. I haven't seen the presentation from Sparks to the city council, so I don't know much more than website information and a few pieces of information that we've received. So I'm not sure how educated I am on discussing using or understanding what Spark is all about.
I also didn't see the presentation they made to city council. Leanne for sure did. Did anyone else see it either live or watch the recording? Okay.
No.
I just read the minutes from the meeting.
Which did not include much detail on the conversation, so.
Yeah, I was hopeful that there would be better, more detailed note taking for something of a vote of this size, and magnitude, but there wasn't much.
I can, you know, if y'all would like for me to, I can, first of all, I do recommend that, you know, if y'all have the time at your, you know, convenience, watch that there were a couple of points made, questions that were posed to the Spark panel. Some went unanswered. There were some other pieces to the program that I wasn't aware of that were highlighted during that meeting. Another council member pointed out a couple of things, one of which I found to be of concern in terms of eligibility criteria and just the spirit of what the funds are supposed to do. I can mention that, but I'm happy to, you know, pull up the application as we're discussing, or try to find things to help y'all in your deliberation.
Yeah, well, I know one of the concerns that I think we might have named it, but again, we didn't really discuss it, but then I have heard it elsewhere, was that because all of the financial literacy training was coming through a Christian organization, which for many other programs does include Christian education classes as part of it. The question was, are the participants of this program going to be required to take Christian education classes? We didn't know that based on our materials that we received. And someone had pointed out that on their website, the word spiritual was reflected on there. But that has been since removed from the website. So I'm kind of just curious if a condition of the grant is just to clarify in writing that it's not a requirement for the participants, or legal review would need to check, can city funds support something that does require it?
Maybe we need to wait and discuss it even further if we don't understand what Sparks is until we do get legal counsel, because then that would sway us one way or another. It wouldn't waste our time, wasting our time. There's never a waste of time, but it's just how we use our time. But maybe I'm moving forward. I think legal counsel is super important in this regard, because we don't want to, I guess, for, you know, tagline, step on anybody's toes, but we need to do it correctly, especially legally. So I don't know if that's just even discussing it. We should wait to see if it's even a go or what we need to do.
I don't know the scope of what legal team has been asked to review. But I got the impression that they don't review something unless the question's been posed to them.
I think part of it revolves around, you know, what they deem eligible and what's not. One thing that staff noted during the meeting that I'll mention, and Councilor Yarnell Holloman brought this up during deliberations, was that it appears that the group is, I want to say counting on, but they're saying that they want everyone to graduate from this 4-year long intensive curriculum to be able to then receive back, I guess, half of the monies that they've put into what equates to market rate rent. There's been some, I guess it's been described as market rate and then below market rate subsequently in articles posted, but that it sounds like from what was discussed that those who don't make it don't get their money back, and the money that they've put into it is also what helps fund the program. So in a sense, they are depending that, or, you know, planning to utilize monies from those failures to perpetuate the program. Councilor Yarnell Holloman's point was additionally that she estimated that it was going to be more like, you know, 60% pass rate on that intensive curriculum. And then again, just that money would be funneled back into the program to perpetuate it. So that was something that wasn't described in their original application materials, but I thought would have been helpful to understand, you know, their budgeting and their line items and how everything was intended to work financially.
That was something I wrote down as just I mean, if someone enters the program with every intent to finish and then something happens and they don't or they can't, I mean, that's just kind of part of life. But I would start being concerned about it if the financial feasibility, if the budget expects people to fail. Like, is it financially feasible if everyone succeeds? If it's 100% graduation rate, everyone gets the grant for a down payment. Is it solvent then? And I don't know that our grant award necessarily needs us to nitpick that, but what I do want to know is, do they have dissolution? Do they have a dissolution clause, which if they get 501c3 status, I would assume that they have to have a dissolution clause that says what happens to their assets if they close down. And does the city have will the city have a record of that so that we just know what happens? Because I'm going through something similar with this over in Dundee, and what I've learned is that when the federal government gives a grant to a nonprofit like Head Start to buy or renovate space, the federal government gets a first right of refusal on the property. If they close, if they need to sell, anything like that, the federal government wants back basically whatever they put in. Yeah, so I would just be curious if the city could have a copy of the dissolution clause on record so that we know what to expect, and that may or may not inform what city council would want to put in the award itself.
That makes a lot of sense, Casey. I think, especially if they are going to purchase property, right? Like if the grant money is purchasing the property and it's been given by the city should have the first right to get the property back, should something happened like that. Leanne, a question I had was, did they put a time limit on the, waiting for the 501c3 status and the legal review? Was there a sense of time given to it, or was it just indefinite?
That was a point of discussion as well, back to the discussion points that Counselor Yarnell Holloman led. That was one of them. Her experience led her to estimate that it could take quite a long time. So I don't know. I was looking back through the articles today. I think in one of the articles posted through Newsberg, it stated that they were hoping to gain that approval by August. So I will keep checking. Before I leave my previous point, I just wanted to tie it to one of the criteria regarding displacement. So, and again, it like Commissioner Banks is stating, it would be helpful for us to have that information. How much bearing it carries, I don't know, but the part of the criteria that speaks to contingencies for displacement. So if folks are entering this program with every good intention to finish it, it is quite a robust curriculum. I'd also encourage commissioners to maybe sit with that again, weekly, monthly, and periodic check-ins and an intensive curriculum while they're working full-time jobs and caring potentially for family members. For whatever the reasons may be, they need to leave the program and then find other suitable housing. Or again, if their financials are such that they're dependent upon, someone not completing the program, does that meet the spirit or the intention of providing affordable housing that does not lead to displacement? So just something to think about in relation to scoring criteria for applications. And I mean, we may be beyond that point at this time anyway, but it was just something that wasn't mentioned previously and taken into consideration before deliberations.
Randy or Braden, any thoughts from y'all?
Yeah, I've got a thought. And actually, or I could use your guys' help on this a little bit. And I could use some clarity. I don't understand now at this point what our role is in this anymore. I mean, it came to us, we graded these on our matrix system. We suggested what needed to be what we would have liked to see happen based upon our scoring matrix. And now it's that's changed a little bit. So I guess where I'm sitting is I just don't understand what our role is in this particular instance anymore. I mean, is it coming back around, or is this and I guess in my eyes, I thought this, once the city council approved it, then it's finished, it's done. So am I not understanding this correctly, or I could use some help understanding exactly where we are in this process and what role we play in it.
I can offer you just my own personal assessment of this, which is,
Sure.
I think it's perfectly valid to say we gave our advice.
Mm-hmm.
Portion of it was taken and a portion of it was not. We're done. What's next for our commission? Assuming all the remaining CET funds get dispersed, we then only have the smaller pool of money, the Affordable Housing Trust, not the CET fund, to kind of be doing grants with on a regular basis. And so we would have capacity potentially to work on some other projects with staff based on that big like timeline of what year we're tackling which topics. Because this award was pending two different things, to me, that kind of signals there's a window of opportunity to, in my opinion, still make some changes. I don't think it's trying to change a council decision, but this is a lot of money, and it's the rest of the money. And to me, that means like just thinking very carefully about the details and the what ifs. Because I think that there has been this has played out differently for different groups, and I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about the fact that a year or so ago, one group was awarded an award conditionally on their ability to raise additional funding to make sure that their program actually happened. That was the Peace Trail Village. They were given a grant, but it was on the condition that they get the rest of their funding secured to ensure that it would actually happen. And it didn't, so they didn't get that grant. This grant was awarded with, it sounds like, not a lot of conversation about, and where's the rest of the money coming from to build these houses to get the program off its feet. And my personal hope is just that there might be a window of opportunity to continue to be good stewards of this and to continue to offer advice. And I think it's perfectly valid, Randy, to say our job is done, and things are going to fall where they fall. That's just not in my own heart to do right now.
Randy, I was like, after we suggested to city council what we think should happen, what role do we really play with like the Spark stuff now?
I'm sorry, Braden, was that a question to me?
Is my internet being weird right now? Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
I can hear
Yeah.
you now, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. What I said was I kind of like agree with you on that of like where do we sit in this now? Because like we gave our suggestion to city council on what to do. So like but do we like how do we play into like all the Spark stuff that's going on now?
Well, there's no
So,
power or decision making. We know that.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're advising, right?
Yeah.
And then so I'm trying to imagine the timeline in my head, right? We meet quarterly. What's their goal? Are they moving forward, now with this? Are things being clarified? If we were to come together, next and make some suggestions, will it be too late? I'm just trying to figure out next steps as well. I don't know, Chair Banks. This is an interesting
I don't think
situation.
I don't think any of us expected to be here.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't, but my assumption is that if we as a commission together, like we make a vote and it passes, want to offer any kind of additional advice for their consideration, I think we've got to do that tonight. And if we
Okay.
don't want to do that as a commission, then individually as residents of Newburgh, we are always free to make public comment.
Who's I can't recall which city council person is appointed to our commission.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman.
Okay. Would have been kind of nice if she was here today to help maybe answer some questions, but I know
Actually, that has changed. It's
Oh,
not,
has it?
yeah, it's Jerry Turgeson.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Faye.
I'll write that down.
What's that role called? Are they a liaison or what is that called?
They're ex officio, officiato, or yeah, like a liaison.
Mhm.
Okay. Jerry Turgeson. Okay. So I guess that's something that we can decide, is do we want to have additional conversation about this tonight to come up with any content for them to see that is coming from the Affordable Housing Commission? Or as a commission, are we done and individuals are free to just represent their own names? Because I absolutely will be making public comment for myself. But if we gave that as a group, then we would put the name of our commission with it. Does that make sense? But like none of us should be planning to give public comment on behalf of this commission.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can say that we're members of this commission, correct?
I
In our
that's
in our public comments.
what would the best practice be? Could we name that we're a member of, but we're speaking for ourselves?
Mhm.
I think so, Faye. I think you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, you're definitely welcome to make a public comment. And you can refer that you are on the commission, but that you are, yeah, like you said, not representing, your opinion is not representing the commission.
Okay.
And I can say, I think with almost 100% confidence that as far as I understand, unless y'all decide not to put forward some other advice, how this plays out would potentially come back to the Affordable Housing Commission as necessary, perhaps as it evolves, say for instance, in the case that it doesn't meet legal review or the nonprofit status, and we do need to reopen another NOFA for those remaining funds, then this could potentially come back around. In a scenario like that, I have no idea, which, how this is going to play out. But yeah, we have those parameters in place for their application moving forward. And, like I said, I'll continue to check in to see what that status is.
Yeah, if the legal review says we can't do this, then all of a sudden we still have $700,000 in this account. And I assume that would
It's-
mean we would need another NOFA round.
Correct. And that account is still accruing interest. So it will continue to grow slowly, but it will continue to gain a little bit of money over time. So.
Is there a possibility that we could do a joint meeting with them to try to work through some of these things? Is that even doable, or do we want to do that?
Who is them?
I'm sorry, the city council.
I can say that it has been done before. I can make the request.
What would you hope to see come out of that, Randy?
Some sort of alignment, I guess. We didn't think this particular project fit the criteria, and they do. So to me, there seems like there's two different scoring systems, so to speak, and hoping that we could come to some sort of agreement or see their vision and why they approved it. And I'll just go back to the comment that this is a lot of money. And I think when I read through the Spark, all the information with it, it was a very interesting plan. What I didn't like about it was it did feel a little like it was thrown together, but also there is no history on a plan that, any sort of documentation or historical data that says this system will work. I would just like to, I guess, Chair Banks, I'd just like to see some sort of alignment, not, and maybe that's just my own personal feeling and not feeling, it just felt like we got, our opinion got discarded.
So, like Leanne said, it has been done before where we've had a joint work session. It felt like, only speaking for myself, it felt like a lot of us arrived to that meeting not really clear what the purpose of the meeting was for. So we could certainly do a better job of being clear about what our hopes for that meeting would be. And it also felt like too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't know if that was because the room was too small for the number of bodies that we put in the room, or if it really just was too many people to have a meaningful conversation. So like there's some logistics to the meeting that we could certainly do better. I guess what I'm hearing from you, correct me if I'm wrong, is your concern primarily about Spark itself? Or is your concern about how the process went down? The process of, we have this scoring rubric that we sent to you, you approved it, and then we based our recommendations off that scoring rubric and they didn't follow it. Is it about Spark or is it about the rubric process?
Well, I would say probably yes to both of them. For me,
Me as well. I mean, this is the second. I mean, just speaking candidly, I feel the same way that I think Randy does in terms of our recommendations and our time were completely just thrown aside. Like, and this is the second time that that's happened with the last couple of rounds of funding, right? Like when we had the last one with the awarding all of the money to above and beyond, they decided to award above and beyond to the Yamhill County Housing Authority and not give any money to the Providence Plan, right, back earlier on, which we didn't even know at the time that would possibly even be possible, right? Like that they would even think of giving more money to someone than they asked for. And so, like, again, like you're right, process wise, what says that can be done? Or of course they can do what they wish. I really struggle with why do they want a commission and citizens to be together and to be making recommendations if they're not going to heed them or ask more questions back to us of why. I mean, it was a unanimous decision for our motion, and we were very thoughtful in our motion in terms of what we said about wanting to do another NOVA if this was deemed not eligible for Spark, which it was not eligible. It wouldn't have even come to us. As we know, it would not have come to us from staff if they didn't feel like they probably had to bring it because it was related to the mayor. Right? We know that's, at least I see that. It feels like that is the only reason that this continue to go forward. If it didn't have those names associated with that group, it would not have come forward. And that's concerning to me. as a citizen of this city. When we're dealing with a bunch of money to help for affordable housing. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like personally, I want to do an op-ed. I mean, I'm not thrilled with this. And it's hurtful because we all really care and we show up to every meeting. Sorry, Judy, I know you've got 10 minutes. So if you want to say something, please, Judy, share.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and speak. I'm not sure if I'm muted or unmuted,
We
but
can hear you.
okay, perfect. I totally agree with, we moved forward, we did a great job. What is our job? I guess the task is that we did our task. I think, whoever asked, that, I think that was Randy, that we did our job, and then the city council took it as a recommendation, and then it's their job to take it or not take it. And I think that's kind of what the government does. And so they're a government body, and then we can make personal testimony, I think, at a city council or bring other people. But I think we need to ask the question, the resources and the time that we're taking away from our city government workers, are we taking their time away if they're just not going to, they're going to discard our decisions or any of our information? That's my little bit.
So Judy, to summarize that, we did our job. We can make public comment still. And then if something else comes back to us, then we do our next job. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's our task that's been given us, is to give them information. But I don't want to waste people's time. And I think, because time is very, very valuable, and and especially our resources and the workers that we have with our city, their money and time of the rest of the citizens in our community. And I think that needs to be also validated too.
Thank you. Yeah. Whatever you're doing out in Washington, DC, have fun with that.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, we're seeing all the sites. Now we're going off to another site. So it's pretty exciting just to be here. Haven't been here for 40 years. So it's changed a little. So yeah. So bye, you guys. Thank you so much. Great work.
Thanks.
Just keep me updated. Thank you.
Okay. Are we allowed to take like an unofficial like straw poll kind of thing? That waiting to see if Faye gives any clarity on that.
Sorry, when you a poll on like do you just want to take a quick?
Let me
Andrew,
ask a question and then tell me if I
There
can't.
you go. There you
Does
go.
that work? Okay, yes. So, and y'all can like decline to answer. That's fine too. So Randy, do you have an appetite to continue working tonight on a potential Affordable Housing Commission statement? Or would your preference to be let individuals make public comment if they want, and we'll see where this goes?
I think I've got time tonight and would be willing to work collaboratively and make a statement. And I also would encourage everybody to make a public statement on their own too. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Willing,
good.
willing either way.
Yep,
Okay.
willing.
Megan, do you have strong feelings about let's make a statement together versus make individual comments?
I mean, I think we're stronger together as well as individual. I think I would be in favor of that.
Eden, how are you feeling?
I agree with the making the statement as the Affordable Housing Commission along with personal ones.
So both?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And I'm-
Samantha just joined the meeting.
I did. I
Samantha.
just jumped on. Sorry, I am incredibly late, but I can catch up to speed with where we're at.
Oh
Um,
boy. Okay,
I'm
Samantha,
happy to participate.
did you happen to watch the city council meeting where Leanne made our presentation on the CET grants to city council?
I
back in June?
did.
You
I did.
Okay, so you know a lot of things. Right now, we are just talking about kind of where do we go from here and gauging people's appetite for either saying our work is done, at least done for now, but people who want to make public comment to city council about all of the above are welcome to do so. And then if anything gets referred back to us as a commission, we can pick up that work. Or do we want to work tonight to create a additional advice basically to share with the city council as the Affordable Housing Commission? And people are still welcome to make personal comments if they want, public comment.
I think that we should make that statement together, if everybody's up for that.
All right, make a statement together. I would also love to do something as a commission together.
I think my only hesitation, slight hesitation on this is that Judy's not here. All right. So I don't want to speak for her.
We can't speak
Or-
for them, but we have a quorum that we can still take votes.
Okay. Yeah. Understood.
So I think that's where we're landing.
So if you guys want to come up with what you want to say and then make a motion that you present that to the commission, then you could vote on it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so our next step would be what would we like to communicate to them, and then hash out that verbiage, and then that would be made as a motion. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What would we like to say? Knowing that sometimes writing things by committee is not the easiest thing to do. But we can kind of put some bullet points together and then kind of wordsmith it after we have a list.
I promise I'm sitting here pondering it like everybody else.
I know. Where do we start?
My personal process is start wherever your brain goes and then like organize it afterwards. Because trying to figure out the beginning sometimes is a little difficult. My first suggestion, and this is not in order, but that we ask the question of could the grant documents include stipulations on what happens if the program never starts or if the program ends? Something about is that the right language, Leanne, that the grant would come with grant documents?
There's
Or-
a grant agreement that's gonna be
Grant
drafted.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and that'll go through rounds of revision with legal and staff and the applicant. And then everyone will get to something that all parties agree on, and then all of the signatories will sign it.
Okay. So as like a first draft of this, grant agreement would stipulate what happens to the funds or land purchased with the funds should the Spark program, I don't know, this is harsh language, fail to launch or dissolve in the future. Something like that.
Mhm. Leanne, maybe you can clarify for us, in during the discussion, was there discussion of additional funds that have been raised at all, or are going to be additionally added from the Spark organization? Or does the fundraising need to all happen? Because I know their financial stuff was like almost zero with the application, right? There was like zero money. So was that discussed during council?
Not as much. I would, if I'm remembering correctly, they've also applied for other federal grant funding, and they're asking for other types of contributions. I think tied to what Commissioner Banks is suggesting, I think that ties back into perhaps the criteria that it has to be affordable housing for at least 60 years. That's not just in the scoring rubric, that's the CET guidelines themselves. So if the program kind of fails to launch or fails to succeed, it ends up dissolving, then that, and I think that's part of why the scoring rubric speaks to proven programs that have been successful, so that we can gauge the likelihood of success for projects. Not that we want to discourage new types of projects, but just speaking to that risk, and that to follow the CET guidelines, there has to be some guarantee about its perpetuity for that set period of time.
Right. That's a really good point, Leanne.
Yes, for sure. Okay. So even if the program is super successful, if it launches in just a few years and it offers affordable housing for 50 years and then dissolves, that grant would somehow, and I don't even know who would follow up with it at that point, but according to the books, it would not then meet the 60 years.
And I would imagine that legal is going to cover that to the extent that they deem appropriate within the grant agreement.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine I don't know how old Habitat for Humanity is, but we haven't funded any Habitat homes that are 60 years old at this point. We just don't have that kind of longevity yet, I don't think.
I think Habitat's own stipulations are more stringent than that. I think, I don't want to misquote, but I think it's something like 99 years.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one piece, is just to ask that the grant agreement stipulates what happens to the funds or land purchased with the funds should the program fail to launch or dissolves before 60 years. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other. I don't know if this is like the best place to just say, we're wondering about, we're curious about, like those kinds of questions, or if it's more of a, this is just for things that we think are actions. We're wondering about what happens if it fails, but what we're requesting is that the grant document provides for that. So some of our questions, like, we don't know if it's going to include spiritual formation requirements or not, but our request could be, we would suggest that the grant documents clarify, you know, XYZ, that kind of thing.
No, I'm with you on that as well. I'd like a little more clarity. When I watched it, you know, the decision appeared to be that they believed that we were making this decision because it was new, it hadn't been created yet. And there was just a lot of questions that we had, but that wasn't the spirit behind it. So my camera is not available today. You can't see me with my hands on my head, just trying to rack my brain to clearly articulate, you know, the precedent that this decision has set. So I'm just trying to participate as much as possible as well. So I just wanted to chime in because I'm kind of on the same track that you are, Casey. That I think that additional language needs to be in there, and I'm not 100% positive how to clearly articulate that as well.
Can I ask another just straw poll question amongst the commissioners? Am I the only one that is wondering if our statement, would I be the only one that wants the statement to say that we actually are requesting them to reconsider? And
I actually
these are
would
some of-
support
and
that.
these are some of the reasons why, you
I-
know, like, yeah.
I would support a reconsideration just for you know what I kind of touched on. This sets a precedent. This decision was that we made was based on the fact that it simply didn't meet the criteria, period. So, and it really is just as simple as that, is it did not meet the criteria. We would have funded the other program as well if we were just blindly throwing money, you know, delegating the money, which we had discussed. So it's very disappointing. It really is, because I feel that it's incredibly unfair to the other applicants.
I also agree that a statement to reconsider would be good.
However, I understand that that likely will carry absolutely no weight, which is incredibly frustrating, right? You know, we can make that statement. I'm for that, and I will certainly support that and collectively come together one way or the other. We request either specific language and questioning regarding the grant and some of those stipulations for if it fails to launch, the duration, so on and so forth, and or we just request outright a reconsideration because it simply didn't meet the criteria. Which I think was what we wanted to go back and revisit anyhow, was to see whether or not the other applicants could come back in. We funded Habitat because they met the timelines, they met the guidelines and everything, and wanted to see whether or not we could review the applications again at a future date, potentially in October or what have you. But have another open application process to be fair and equitable to everybody. Because this doesn't seem fair and equitable at all. I mean, just openly and honestly, it doesn't.
So there's very different
Casey, what do you think?
paths we could take on this. I am not opposed in any way to our request being will you reconsider? Will you rescind this award for now, at least? So that Spark has time to gather more documents, get more details hashed out, and we have another note for round, and it would be open to all applicants, not just Spark. I think the only reason that could be effective is if there is continued, like, sustained public comments that raises these questions. And it can come from us too. Like, we could say, here's all these unanswered questions, and therefore we would ask that you rescind this award, and open up a third round for this NOFRA. The other path, this first one was, well, it sounds like they're getting the money, so let's do the best we can to make sure that as many I's are dotted and T's are crossed as possible in this process. If we request that they rescind it and they say no, do we lose the opportunity to make the status quo better? Or if they say no, would we then come back with these other suggestions?
I mean, maybe there's a piece of it that also offers that, we respectfully request that they would rescind this decision based on the reasons that we've all gone through already. And if whether they do or they don't, we also would be very open to sitting down and having a meeting to discuss the future of the Affordable Housing Commission and our role of how we can be more helpful for our community and to the council going forward. Maybe it's that open invitation for a meeting.
So if that played out, if our request was, here's all the concerns. Therefore, will the city council reconsider its decision and rescind the award? If yes, then another no for round. And that gives Spark time to resolve all these concerns and apply for that round. And we know that other groups may also apply in that no for round as well. And if not, if they don't rescind it, then request a joint meeting to discuss the role. Is that what you said? The role of the Affordable Housing Commission, or the future of, how did you word it, Megan?
Yeah, something about, like the role of the commission, as well as if they don't rescind it and we're having this meeting, like, I would like them to explain how they think this meets the criteria for our community to have affordable housing through this particular grant.
And I would agree, because the application was incomplete because we didn't have the information. And I mean, really, you can have a complete application even for a program that hasn't launched yet, right? But we simply didn't have that information to intelligently make a decision to fund this particular program. I think all of us said, well, in theory, the other two programs that we chose not to fund are both fantastic, but we don't have communication, recent communication from one, and Spark doesn't meet the criteria. We'd love to know how this actually meets the criteria and how we can support you through this program. If it's going to launch and it's actually going to provide affordable housing, then we as a commission need to know how we can support that and what role we play. At least I think that's what you're trying to say.
Randy, how do you feel?
There we go. Um, I think, well, I'm in alignment with you guys, but I also do really want to, I think I'd like to stress or ask the question, um, what is their funding criteria? I mean, I just want to be in alignment. If we're using two different criteria, it just doesn't make any sense for us to continue the way we're going. And if they're using a different type of criteria to award funding, then we need to be in alignment with them. I think one of the things that this process has maybe shown is, I mean, this is going to be a little harsh, but I'm trying to figure out where the integrity is here, you know, and that's why we have that scoring rubrics is that it provides that clarity. We do it with purpose. We do it with integrity, and it's very straightforward. We check the boxes off, and I just don't see where the council did that when they awarded this funding. So I just like really to ask the basic question: what's your criteria? And are you willing to reevaluate that?
And I think that's a really
Right.
fair question to ask because I mean that's perfect language. Where is the integrity in this so that we understand better so that you know if there's a different scoring rubrics that we should be using that council was using that we're in alignment so that we can have a collaborative conversation. Braden, I'd actually really love to hear from you as this down the line part of the community is going to impact you longer than it will us, frankly.
I mean, oh, sorry.
The scoring rubric that we used was reviewed by and approved by the city council. And
Including,
the last time our commission met with the city council was to discuss that scoring rubric. It was a little bit of a fiasco on how it played down, but the end result was what we used is what council approved for us to use.
Okay.
and the mayor was there, and I'll say this also, that last meeting in city council with this, the council members did not present any other type of scoring rubric or criteria to base their deliberations on. The decision was made there that evening, and there was no mention of some other rubric or criteria.
Related to that, Leanne, did the council take time to do the 70 points? Like how many from this category, how many of that point? Okay, so that wasn't
Not-
done.
Not to my knowledge. No.
Okay.
I
What is
mean,
that
if
portion
they,
of the form called? It
let's
wasn't the
see.
minimum threshold criteria, it was the second half.
Yeah, if you, just a moment, I do have their application open, so let me see.
Right, because they didn't even meet the minimum criteria threshold, right?
Okay, so
Right.
the, on attachment A, there's the first 5 are the minimum threshold criteria. And then 7 through 14 is called scored application criteria. And that's where you can award your points. I think the way it's set up is you would score an application if the first 5 are successfully met for those minimum threshold standards, and then move on to scoring. But
Yeah. So my assumption is that this is the only way I can make it make sense in my head, is that the city councilors, well, no, they didn't know for sure whether or not it met the minimum threshold. That was the whole reason for the legal review. But they made an assumption that it was. Again, it's pending legal review, but they made the assumption that if it does meet the minimum threshold criteria, then they still didn't go beyond and use that scored application criteria and award up to 70 points to base their decision competitively against Habitat for Humanity.
I would characterize it as that they decided not to use the scoring rubric at all
Okay.
for Spark.
Because
Not that they decided in the meeting that they did meet minimum threshold criteria. The mayor's argument during that meeting was to discredit that he did not like it and he didn't think it was an appropriate scoring matrix or document for that project.
So just opted not to use the scoring criteria at all, the rubric.
But
However,
it didn't have the merit. Even though going into it, that was what they needed to answer to. He made the argument at the beginning of the meeting to say that he didn't place much value in it.
he didn't
And that was
place much,
something that was,
sorry, he didn't place much value in the agreed upon rubrics that they set for us. And forgive me, as that wasn't a meeting that I participated in. So the rubrics that we have was approved by city council, correct? Okay,
including the
Alright.
mayor, but I'm stating that
Okay.
what happened in the last city council meeting, prior to voting, after he recused himself, the mayor did speak to the project and the scoring matrix, and that he didn't place much value in it. So I don't really think that became part of, to my understanding, it wasn't part of the decision-making process that evening.
right. City council didn't consider where they scored on the rubrics because they couldn't possibly, what I surmised from is we couldn't possibly surmise an appropriate score for them because they didn't exist yet. But that's not accurate. The other program didn't exist either, but we were able to score the other program that we didn't have communication with, and forgive me as I'm drawing a blank the other name right now, but I don't think that they understood how and where we came to our thought process. But I did understand that they chose not to utilize the scoring rubrics to make their decision based on what the mayor said to sway that prior to recusing himself.
Right, and whether they did prior to the meeting, of course, I have no knowledge, staff has no knowledge of their thought process or personal deliberations. I mean, perhaps they did, I just don't have that information, but being present in that meeting, it was not part of the discussion in terms of deciding whether to award funds to them or not.
Right, and that's fair. I mean, we don't know definitively.
And you know, technically they do have they are the decision-making body, so they do have the legal right to decide to not use that. Of course, it raises other questions and concerns that have been expressed by yourselves and other community members, but they do have that authority.
Right, and we had kind of discussed that in our previous meeting, that we can make any suggestion to city council, and regardless of the decision that we make as a commission, the city council can override any any suggestion that we make regardless of why we made that decision. So going into this, I was already aware that that was a potential possibility. Yeah, I mean, it's a little disappointing. I was really hoping that they would allow another round of applications to go back out, so that we could gain some more information from Spark and potentially other applicants to keep it fair and equitable. But you know, I mean, I think we're kind of all a little baffled by this. I apologize for coming in so incredibly late, but I knew that it was important that I was here for this particular meeting, just because we're all a little flabbergasted, honestly, based on city council's decision. And I mean, at least from my standpoint, I'd like to know how, as a commission, we can collaboratively work together with city council to address these issues, and this doesn't feel very collaborative. So, and I would love to work with city council to figure out how we can collaborate and meet this need.
Leanne, I've got a question for you. It's two parts. One is, in past recommendations that you've made to the council, previously to this one in June, if a application did not meet the minimum threshold, were those applications ever put forward to council as well? Like, do you submit everything that's ever submitted in terms of for review, as part of your recommendation, and the commission's recommendation? Or is those that don't meet minimum threshold are never given to the city council?
So what is typical is that an application needs to be complete. And the Spark application was complete in that it did have something written for each of those, you know, criteria, both the minimum threshold and the scored. There's the scoring part that comes into that, and I guess the decision-making process, which doesn't really rest with staff, about whether it meets or not. You know, we can make recommendations, that's our role. And our recommendation was that it didn't meet, you know, those scoring criteria. I was present in the meeting when that was discussed, that meeting that Commissioner Banks was referring to. And it was quite a lengthy discussion. So, you know, that was what we had used previously, and we were going to be consistent with that in previous NOFA rounds. So all of that is consistent.
We've had
This-
a complete application before that did not meet minimum threshold criteria, and it still came to us and it still went to city council, I believe. Wasn't that the case when someone was asking for help at one of the nursing homes in town? They wanted help paying their monthly dues or something.
Yeah, and that one, there was an official request by one of the managers at that location, and then there was another request by a family member, and that, you know, just there wasn't any structure to like a program or what have you, but we did review it, and it couldn't, you know, it was decided it wasn't going to move forward, but it was noted, you know, I keep a log of every application that comes in, when it comes in, what type of application it is, what's being requested, when it gets reviewed by staff, when it gets reviewed by the Affordable Housing Commission, and then when it goes to city council. So there's documentation for everything that is submitted. But when it gets to decision-making time, really, it moves beyond staff hands. So
this is another tricky legal kind of question, but could someone see the Spark application as possibly not, could someone look at the point that Spark actually did not even qualify to apply to begin with because they didn't have the 501c3 status and they didn't exist as any sort of entity before when they filed this application?
Hmm. Doesn't our grant we've had
Right? They're not a
for-profit-
business. They were not a business, a for-profit business, and they're not a nonprofit.
That's what I think the tricky thing is because we're not limited to nonprofits.
Right. But they're also
they're-
not a business. They're not a for-profit.
But there is a box you have to check whether you're nonprofit or for-profit.
Right. And they were not nonprofit at the time. They
Huh.
still aren't.
But they're a registered business,
No, they're not. No.
so they have no
They have a-
Secretary of State legal.
They have a pending application for a
They're
501c3 status. It's pending.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this one. Yeah.
I do, and this is, again, this is where it's a tricky ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
I keep circling back to the same thing where I would love to work collaboratively with council, but I just don't see that right at the moment. And I'd like to figure out how we can work with them and the spirit of the whatever idea and thought process that they have for this particular program and how we can move
Mhm.
forward.
So can I ask how you all feel about separating these two trains of thought? So one train of action, I guess, is what are we going to do about Spark? What's our recommendations? What's our statement? What do we hope comes of that? And then the second one is, if we have another NOFA round, talk us through the scoring criteria. Like, can we be on the same page about a scoring criteria and agree that city council will use what they tell us to use? Because there's a scenario where we don't do another scoring criteria in the future. I mean, we have that little housing, affordable housing trust, but it's a much smaller pot of money. And I think we could probably talk about process and scoring rubrics and what's our purpose, what do they want from us, once we find out if there's going to be another NOFA round offered. Normally I would love to like rehash like what went wrong, and I just don't know that this is an easy machine to kind of do that work in. But if we know, yep, there's going to be another NOFA round, then I do think we should have that for sure. How do you guys feel about separating that if a NOFA round is even offered?
I think that's ideal. It can be lost in translation, right? If we're going down two different trains of thought, dealing with Spark and then dealing with another round of potential funding. So certainly separating those, I think would be best.
Megan, Randy, Braden?
Agree.
I agree with it.
Agree.
Okay.
I also had a quick question, like circling a little bit back. Samantha, you mentioned something about how it would affect like me and other people like down the road. You want my opinion on something? What was that?
Well, I'm interested to hear in everybody's potential perspective. The reality is that 60 years down the road, the odds are pretty good that I won't be around. I mean, that would be lovely, but I would be well into my hundreds. So
Yeah.
you, Braden, will be, and so maybe you have a different perspective than I do in long term how this is going to affect our community. And I certainly would love to hear a different opinion, and maybe some things that I haven't thought of, the long-term impact, both good and bad. Certainly we have a lot of questions about this particular program, but I'd really love to hear from you and how you think that could either benefit us in this community in a positive way, or some questions and concerns that you might have, long term with this program or programs like it.
I mean, I would love to be able to see like what we do and what we suggest to City Hall be able to have impacts, 6 years into the future, as you say. Um, to be able to have these um programs that would have those impacts later down the line where it's continuous with affordable housing. It's not just like a one-time thing. And I'm not sure if the current ones are showing that. I might be wrong.
That's fair. I mean, we're all questioning those same things. So I really appreciate the additional perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 5:37 and want to honor our time as much as we can and hope to get out of here by 6 o'clock. If the Affordable Housing Commission makes a statement, what is the process for that, Leanne? Is that a written document that is included in their next packet? Do I need to show up and read a statement? Do you make a presentation to them? How does that work?
I would probably need to get a definitive pathway hashed out with Scott, but I think there probably are a couple of scenarios. And I know that we can bring forward recommendations from our advisory bodies. I guess we would gauge, depending on perhaps content and how much content y'all would like to bring forward. But we would work to get it into the next available council meeting. And I think there is some agency in how y'all would like to have that information presented. I am the point person on staff, so I'm happy, of course, to make that something that I do. It could perhaps, and this is what I need to ask questions of probably Scott and then Will. I don't know if that would be considered like a new business item or a consent agenda item or just informational. And then to present something, there's usually, I don't know that there would be any sort of graphic content to really convey. It might just be a written statement. But I can flesh that out a little bit better about what that would look like.
My preference would be that someone from the commission is allowed to be the spokesperson. Because you've already given our recommendations as our staff person. If they would allow someone from the commission to speak for the group, that would be my personal preference.
Yeah, I'll ask about that. And I'll also offer that if we did need to put on the calendar an additional meeting to try to give this, what your efforts are trying to encapsulate more time. I'm happy to devote more time to facilitating an additional meeting before the scheduled October meeting as well. So just kind of food for thought about how you feel about giving this the time that it needs to really craft something to
Actually,
bring forward.
I was just about to make that suggestion and ask whether or not that's something that we can do. I know we had discussed it previously that we could have another meeting, and certainly it would be one that would be beneficial if Judy could be a part of it, so we could craft that statement together. If everybody's willing, and if that's something that we're able to do, I would love to schedule an additional meeting that's sometime in between now and October, so that we can hash this out a little bit more. Because I think it's going to take a little bit of time for us to pause, really think about what a meaningful statement would be from the commission, so that we can work with city council in the best way possible.
I'd also like to allow for a little bit of time for the legal review to potentially come back with a conclusion. Because there's a chance that the answer is we can't do this, and then our work is done for us. Hopefully there would be another NOFA at that time. I would love to have another work meeting to craft that as well. For that to be like our only agenda item.
Exactly. It could just be scheduled as a work session for the commission. And yeah, again, I'm happy to facilitate that.
Does that have to go through like all the like public notice and agenda a week ahead of time, all those kinds of things if it's a work session? Because we do still have to take a vote on that one.
Yeah, you would have the agenda beforehand anyways, so that's about all we really do for public noticing.
Okay, so whatever it is, it'll get labeled that we're allowed to take an actual vote at, right?
Yeah, it could be the work session with the vote.
Great. Well, I think that's something that we should do then, figure out how to get that on the calendar and schedule that.
Are you thinking sometime in August?
I don't want
I
to lose
think,
too
yeah,
much momentum, but yeah, legal
right. I
probably
think
needs a few
some of
weeks.
it is, yeah, I agree. It's with legal. But yeah, urgency, I think there is a sense of urgency in some sense, right? In the next couple of weeks to try to get something done.
What about 30 days out?
I think 30 days out, we've already lost one council meeting that was after. We're going to lose another here in another 30 days.
So
So I
prior.
think, yeah.
Council met on the 21st, so they're going to meet again on August 4 and August 18.
Yeah, but those agendas fill up sometimes. I'll have to look at that and get with Scott and then our recorder, Rachel, and see. Sometimes we have to try to get in, even like the next 2 meetings might be booked. Sometimes maybe just the next meeting will be booked. I haven't looked ahead personally at the next 2 council meetings, and I don't know how much room is on there. That being said, if we're having one of the commissioners or the chair come forward to make a statement, that's probably not that big of an item to add to the city council agenda in terms of time spent. So
I
it
don't
might be.
anticipate we're asking to be on the agenda for them to have discussion. I mean, that'd be great, but I would even settle for like, here's your generic, is it 2-minute or 5-minute public comment block?
5 minutes.
I mean, I think we can make our statement easily within 5 minutes.
Right.
So are you thinking before the 18th city council meeting then of August?
Correct. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking was And for some reason, I thought it was the following week, the last meeting, but yeah, that last meeting, us having a meeting prior to the last meeting for city council in August.
Would you like to keep it on a Tuesday at 4, or would you, that would be the 12th, or would you guys want to, since it's just it doesn't have to be the same time or day. So since it's an additional work session.
Tuesday, August 12th works for me. Certainly I can be flexible and I'm willing to be flexible to make sure that I participate.
That works for me.
You said Tuesday the 12th?
Yes.
I'm available.
Hang on, I'm checking.
Casey, did you want to work on a draft? Kind of a draft statement between now and then that we can work off of or altering during the work session? Or would you like propose something else between now and then for efficiency?
I think it's helpful to come with a draft.
What time would the meeting on the 12th be?
Well,
Would
we
you
could
say
keep
4?
it the typical 4 if that works for everybody, or we can change the time.
I have a sport event at 6, so if it lasts more than 2 hours, I would have to leave, but I'm not sure how long we were thinking it would take.
That's fair. I can just to be flexible, I can move it to Monday the 11th, or I'm available on Thursday the 14th. Sorry, I'm staring at my calendar.
Either of those work for me.
Good on the 11. Did you say the 14th?
I did. I'm
I'm good at 11
available
too.
4 o'clock on the 11th, and I'm also available 4 o'clock on the 14th. Certainly I can be flexible with time later in the day is actually ideal for either one of those as well if we needed to be a little bit later, or I can do as early as 3 o'clock.
I can do the 11th or the 12th only. I
Okay.
can't do the 14th.
I would think the 11th would probably be better, just in case, so we can get everything drafted and ready for the 18th.
I think
Give
that's
staff some time.
I think that's fantastic, and I don't want to put Braden, I don't want to put you in a position where you have to cut it short and not participate. So
Thank you.
if that works for you, Braden,
Yeah, the 11th works perfect.
okay. So why don't we do the 11th then, if everybody's in agreement? Randy, does that work for you?
Yeah, the 11th works.
I can schedule so I don't have work during that time as well beforehand, so it's all good.
Perfect.
Yeah, all right.
Do I need to make a motion?
Do we need this as a motion or no?
I have no idea. I'm genuinely
don't
asking a
either.
question.
I'm not quite sure, but I guess it wouldn't help, it wouldn't hurt, so we
It
might as well
wouldn't
do
hurt.
it, so
Go for
we're
it.
all in
Samantha.
compliance.
Wonderful.
Did we discuss a time on the 11th?
I think we had discussed 4 o'clock, but Leanne, does that work for you on Monday? 4 o'clock? Certainly, I know I can be flexible.
Okay, it would work a bit better for Mondays are a little bit more stacked in general. And I'll be commuting, I'll be in office that day. So if we're able to do it a bit earlier, that would be helpful for me.
Would 3 o'clock work for you, Leanne? Anybody else, please let me know if that is a conflict.
Works
Yeah,
for me.
I'm good.
That might be tough for me.
Okay.
To go earlier than that.
Earlier than
Um,
4, earlier than 3.
Earlier than 4. Let's so 3 o'clock. I'm doing math. I'm going to be in a different time zone then. So, um, I can try to make that work. I'll make it work.
Are you sure? 3:30? Give that half an hour buffer, maybe?
That would be better. Yeah, that
Okay,
would be
well,
better if we could.
Leanne, is that all right if we do 3:30?
Yeah, we can make it
Wonderful.
work.
Okay,
Great.
well, I would like to make a motion that we have an additional work session on this particular topic on August 11th at 3:30 to discuss our statement that we would like to make to City Council.
Is
I'll
there?
second that.
Thank you. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Let's do it.
All right, I'll probably go ahead and send out a calendar invite, just so it's out to everybody, and then it'll be a pretty simple agenda. Minutes
We-
probably will not be done by that time.
Can you also send out an email to all the members of our commission, explaining what it is, because we have some members not here? So that they
Okay.
know what this is, that it's a new
Yep.
thing. Okay. Okay, I'm going back to our agenda. Staff updates on housing planning assistance grant?
Right. Totally forgot about that. So that was a success last night. That is an item that we had requested firstly at the City Council and then with DLCD to kind of delay our original work plan to coincide with the biennium set forth by DLCD. So this is Oregon required like housing type studies, and the state is providing grants to do that work, and even consultants that would work with cities. They've let us know that the city of Newburgh is high on their priority list to assist, which is great. So the first item that we're seeking the grant money for was for a housing capacity analysis. And that kind of lets us know where we stand with available resources to support additional housing. And then let me look at my notes. Later down the road, let's see, there will be more work in line with that, a housing production strategy. So in essence, the HCA, the housing capacity analysis, says, here's what could be built. And then the housing production strategy would say, here's what will be built and how. So again, those are requirements by the state. And we needed that resolution from City Council to put with our application. The application's due on the 4th. So we got the meeting in just under the wire and got their approval for that. So that will be something that we'll talk about going forward, is that work. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to give us data that's helpful in understanding, much like the written burden status that we had previously and the data that I collected around that. All of that's helpful to understand the picture of what housing looks like in the city and what our deficiencies are, what that looks like. And so these next steps are about kind of what's on the ground, what do we have to work with, and how can we reach goals of providing more housing and what type of housing. And of course, there is an affordability aspect to that work down the line. So stay tuned. You will hear more about that as we move forward.
Wonderful.
Any items from commissioners?
No, I don't have anything.
I got just a quick question, Leanne. On our last meeting, when we talked about the funding, this is in regards to the Catholic charities. They had done so much work, but they never responded. Did they ever respond at all?
Yeah, so unfortunately they did. It wasn't, I had reached out via email and phone.
Mhm.
I think it finally took Will, our city manager. He did end up being successful making contact. And it sounds like they have dissolved that group effort.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, and again, it's my understanding as well that that whole concept had been worked on for years. And that's why it seems so, their application was so robust. So it is unfortunate that that is likely not to move forward, in any way, shape, or form, to my understanding. But perhaps if we do somehow end up with another NOFA round, perhaps there are other projects that have been concepted that we just don't know about. And they could put forward applications, but yeah.
It was just
Yes.
strange how much energy and money that they had put into that, and then not to respond at all was just, I was just wondering kind of what happened. But thank you for the update.
That was an
I was scratching my head as well.
That was an incredible project. I hope someday someone dusts off the plans for that when they've got all the capital they need.
Right.
Yeah.
That really was a fantastic project. So I really do
Yeah.
hope that somebody picks that up and runs with it. I had heard similar that there had been kind of a changing of the guard with that particular program. So it's we'll see,
Yeah. Anything else from commissioners?
I would just ask that those that are interested maybe hold on their calendar the city council meeting on the 18th, to attend in person if commissioners are available.
I already
Yeah.
put that on my calendar and I will
Got
gladly
it on
attend.
mine. Yeah.
Great.
Great.
And I would
Casey.
put it, yeah, I would just mention as well, I think maybe I said it earlier, but if I didn't, perhaps it's worth watching the public statement that was made by a citizen last night at the city council meeting. And that statement is more towards the beginning of the meeting, so you shouldn't have to sit too long throughout that recording. But the reason I mention it is this particular resident is reflecting much of what our discussions, your discussions as a commission have been around. And likewise, this particular resident was well read on the articles put forward in Newsburg as well. So I think it's on some folks' minds in addition to your own.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we have another meeting scheduled for October 28th, but that is no longer our next meeting. So we'll be gathering on Zoom again, August 11 at 3:30. And with that, it's 5:58. And oh, I always forget. Do we have to take a vote to adjourn, or do I just declare we're done?
Just declare it.
We're adjourned.
Yep. Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
Okay.
See ya.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.